All right, here we go. It's a beautiful day. March 4th. All right, so today, here's what we got for you today. I'll touch on the KWRI announcement yesterday. We have some compliance things. Lindsay has a few tech things to point out. And then I'm going to walk through day 2 of the vision speech. And here's what I would challenge you with. Day 2 of the vision speech is like a manifest. Okay. And what I mean by that is what I would be doing is I'd be printing most specifically day 2. And what I did is you'll see a bunch of my notes on what you should be paying attention to, because what I view day 2 to be is day 2 is a manifest as to how to build your business and how to scale your business, and what you focus on as to what's important and what to not focus on as to what's not important. Because oftentimes in this business, what I find is agents start focusing on the wrong things because they try and be different. The challenge in it is what they're trying to focus on ultimately is not what helps them build their business. And so what the goal of this morning is, from a data perspective, is to help you understand where you should be putting your time, energy, and resources in order to help you build scale. And so what I would be doing is I'd literally, and I do this from a brokerage perspective, I print out a handful of the data and put it right in front of my desk and say, what matters and what does not, what matters and what does not. And if it doesn't matter, delete it, forget about it, move on. So that's my goal today, is to help you understand what are consumers telling us as it relates to our services and the things you should be paying attention to. So let's jump into it. Yesterday, you probably saw an announcement that I had heard smoke or seen smoke of for several weeks, but didn't know where to look or what was going on. And I asked some questions directly while I was at family reunion and got indirect answers. So now I have more clarity as to what is happening. At the end of the day, a portion of the company was sold to a strategic partner, which is Stone Point Capital. Okay. I did a little research on Stone Point Capital because I wanted to understand who they were. Fortunately, I have 2 friends that have done business with Stone Point Capital, so I called them. And one of them is a consultant for Stone Point Capital. The other one sold their business to Stone Point Capital. Interestingly enough, in the last 5 years, their average deal size is 1.3 billion in terms of investment. In the last 5 years, they've invested around $90 billion in various companies across the US, and they're sitting on $6 billion in dry capital. Okay. The reason why I share that with you is this is not a small strategic partner. This is a very large strategic partner with scale. And the challenge when you look across the brokerage landscape, I think, and this is my own opinion, okay, this is not anything, I'm reading between the lines on this based on the research I did. I think the challenge is being privately held for so long served us to a point until it didn't. And that point is kind of now where you're playing with companies that are 90% of brokerages are either with scale, are either publicly held or private equity backed. And there's an element of how much dry powder you have in your chamber in terms of your ability to reinvest in your business. And if you think about the last 3 years as a privately held company, and I think some of the risk that was on the table of being a privately held company as it relates to some of these lawsuits and the checks that had been to write for TCPA and a variety of other things, I think it was a strategic move to look at a partner with deeper pockets and to take some risk off of the organization as a privately held organization. Now, I say all that to say I'm not surprised by the move at all. I think it's, quite frankly, the right time, right place, and I think it's a very appropriate move. And at the end of the day, here's a really simple slide I would share with you. What happens in Austin, so much of it is outside of our control in Milwaukee, right? And as I kind of stated yesterday in a note I sent to the group, real estate at the end of the day still comes down to local people serving local relationships led by local leadership. And change has been nothing but constant in the brokerage world in the last 10 years since we opened KW. And if you look at over the last, this goes back to 2017 and looking at market share, what you see here is a consistent theme of change, leadership, a variety of other things that happened in KW. And you look at it and the red line is our local market share, and say still it comes down to local people serving local relationships led by local leadership. And we as a local entity focus on what we can control. And I will understand how to navigate the relationship we have with KWRI. But so much of that is outside of my control that I don't spend a lot of time, energy, and resources thinking about what if, what is this, da, 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 da. And it's so funny because it was brought to my attention that some of our peers were making phone calls using it as, let's just call it clickbait or recruiting or whatever it might be. And you know what the irony of it is? Outside of Shore West, every company in Milwaukee is publicly traded or private equity backed. So when XYZ brokerage is making phone calls and saying, oh my gosh, private equity, private equity, private equity. And then you look at it and you say, hey, idiot, did you look up who is backing your company? It's private equity. I say that tongue in cheek, but the point of it is the landscape has changed and there was no longer, a decision needed to be made as it relates to what you do in order to create dry powder. Now, the other positive thing as it relates to Stone Point, most of Stone Point's major investments within the real estate space is all in technology and data, which I think puts us in a position of leverage as it relates to controlling data and how do we utilize data in order to help you to continue to win. Again, I know nothing. I'm reading between the lines based off of things I know and have read as it relates to the partnership that KWRI took on yesterday. So for me, I'm kind of like, all right, here we go. We'll figure it out. And I think strategically, it's in a completely appropriate time for KWRI to consider an option like this. And I was not surprised at all that it came across. So just wanted to share with you my opinions there. And obviously, you guys have questions. You're absolutely willing to call me, text me, shoot me a note. Many people did yesterday, and I kind of gave them what I know, and I'm going to continue to dig into what this might look like and how do we strategically leverage this relationship moving forward in our partnership with KW. Cool? All right. With that, I'm flipping it over to Vranik. Vranik, what do these guys need to know around your go-to for success?
All right. Can you hear me, Charlie?
Yep.
Perfect. Okay, so it's been a while since I've been up here. So I just wanted to go through some housekeeping items and some updates and where you can find some of these things. So first up is all of the resources from Family Reunion have been added to our KW Realty MKE.com website in the Agent Hub under Event Resources. That QR code on the screen there is going to take you directly to that Google Drive folder where we're housing everything from Family Reunion. We've got the entire all the slides from the vision speech. We also have some one-sheeter resources on systems and tactics like SOI, social media, listings. Again, those are all systems that were talked about at Family Reunion. And then they also put together a separate web page that houses like Gary's vision speech, the actual video, the 10 bold truths, some highlights from the CEO summit, along with some other resources. So those are all linked in this Google Drive folder. So those PDF documents are in there. The link to that new website is in there. So check it out. It's on our website or scan that QR code on the screen. Moving into some marketing updates. So we put together the Milwaukee market reports for 2025. Those are live and available. These are pulled from the MLS emails that you guys get monthly. So this is the 4-county Metro Milwaukee area. So these are social media posts that you can download. Everything's linked in our grab and go folder under the tech and marketing resources on our website. And then we do put together a email smart planning command. So it's all in that smart plan library if you search KW Milwaukee. So just some really great tools to leverage and send out to your database. Next up,
What's interesting, Linz, let me just pause you right here. One of the number one things both buyers and sellers want to receive from you, information as it relates to the market. You'll see that data here in a second. They want to know what is going on with their asset and the environment that their asset sits. These are all pieces of leverage for you to be able to communicate that and showcase the knowledge you have of your local market. Thanks, Linz.
Yeah. Exactly. And spring is on the horizon. So we've got some new 12 direct campaigns to utilize for the months of March, April. So the brewer schedule is out, as I know most of you already have seen. Local breweries, we put this one together. This one's new. So again, all local content that you can share with your database. And hopefully people are interested in going out to see a game and visit one of these local breweries. Also have a spring cleaning checklist. So like all of our 12 direct campaigns, you can mail this out as a postcard. You can post it on social media, and like the MLS market updates, you can find it in the Spark Plan library and send it out via email. All right, and then finally, just a few training opportunities that we have coming up. This week, Thursday, we are doing a social media workshop. So myself, Bella, Madeline, we are kind of joining our, knowledge of social media, and we're going to talk all about differences between a Facebook and Instagram business and personal page. And we're going to really dive deep into Instagram Reels, videos, content that you can post. So join us this Thursday. It's on Zoom, so it will be recorded and uploaded to our YouTube channel. But recommend jumping on live on Zoom if you can. So that's this Thursday at 11 a.m. And then some other trainings coming up this month. If you want to learn more about agent site customization, I'll be sharing some updates next week on that. So they rolled out some really cool features in regards to the agent websites through Kaband. And then March 20th, we've got special guest Focus Title and Peter Gossman going over how to grow your farm. So some really great trainings coming up in the month of March. Again, those are always on Thursdays at 11 on Zoom. And then just a
Real
quick
quick,
reminder.
Linz,
Yeah.
the number one thing that'll prevent people from growing their business in 2025 is what? Lack of inventory or the inability to go manufacture listings. March 20th, there's a tool that Peter utilizes, leveraging data from Focus Title all around how to leverage the data to manufacture listings, something to pay attention to.
Yeah, and then finally, just quick reminder, all of these trainings that are on Zoom and recorded, they are uploaded to our YouTube channel. So you can find the link on our website, kwrealtymke.com, where you can find a lot of other resources like our training calendar, which is also linked with all of those Zoom links, and then our YouTube channel. So team meetings, contract trainings, check out Steph Jones contract training every Monday, tech and marketing trainings. Those are all uploaded on our YouTube channel.
What time?
Love it. Thanks, Linz.
What time on this one?
All right, with that, I'm flipping it over to Lieutenant Steph. What do we got?
As Lindsay said, it's been a minute since we've been up here. This morning, we're going to be going over the property damage between acceptance and closing provision in our offers to purchase. You can find this on lines 468 to 477 of the offer, which is bottom of page 8. This is also commonly known as the 5% provision or the 5% rule. So this is essentially the roadmap given to our buyers and sellers in the event there's damage to the property after acceptance, but again, prior to closing. So I won't read this line by line, but I'll bullet point it. Next slide. So if there is damage, the seller needs to promptly notify the buyer in writing. That can be done via notice. And if the total cost of the damage to the property, the total cost to repair and restore is less than 5% of the purchase price, seller is obligated to repair and restore and provide lien waivers and all of the necessary inspections, all of the necessary paperwork for that repair. So any applicable lien waivers, paid invoices, or permits, provide those to the buyer prior to closing, and all parties are moving forward to closing. If the total cost of the damage exceeds that 5% of the purchase price, then it opens up an option for the buyer. The buyer at this point could determine whether or not they want to proceed and move forward to closing. They could declare the offer null and void if they want. But essentially the buyer has the option to terminate the offer. If the buyer would like to move forward, it is spelled out then too that the buyer is entitled to the insurance proceeds. These can be held in trust if there is a lender involved. That said, buyer and seller couldn't come to their own agreement on how the property is to be repaired and restored via an amendment, of course. Just a couple comments on this provision. Whenever we're fielding questions a lot about this, a lot of times agents will lead with, you know, the seller and buyer have already agreed to X, Y, and Z to being done per the inspection negotiations. This is outside of the inspection contingency. So this again is that roadmap for a specific occurrence after acceptance. So this could be what you're going to point to in the midst of your inspection negotiations. This could come up after the inspection negotiations are done. So again, this is outside of that. Again, if it's not possible to make the repairs prior to closing, the buyer and seller may come to another agreement via an amendment. I've already stated that. And then as it relates to disclosure obligations for the seller has no duty to amend the real estate condition report. They've already disclosed this in writing via the notice. But conversely, if the damage is done prior to that accepted offer, then that's when it's appropriate to use the amendment to the real estate condition report. Okay, that's very important. If we use an amendment to the real estate condition report, that could open up buyer rescission rights, which we may or may not want to give, right? So come to us with questions as always, right? But we just want to make you guys aware that this exists in the offer, because this is definitely a great roadmap and guideline for when damage occurs. All right, and then next up on Sunday, you guys may have noticed, for those of us who use ZipForms, and the MLS Connect option that did expire on Sunday. We do still have the subscription, but every single year we need to reconnect. So Lindsay or I will put out this slide on Facebook this morning yet. But just wanted to quickly walk through how to reconnect. So you're going to locate any listing tab in MLS. You're going to go to the ZipForm link from that data sheet. You're going to click on the ZipForm, and then you're going to be brought to this next pop-up, and you're going to click the buy button. You are not going to be charged anything. This is just the way to reconnect. So it's really easy, and then it might take a minute, and then it's going to bring you into a ZipForms folder, and the reconnection has been established. So
every time, or is that just the one time?
just the one time until next year when we have to do it again. So and again, we'll put this out on Facebook for you guys too. All right. Then our remaining March contract training. So we had a really good turnout yesterday for Joan's training on the real estate condition report. So we always like to thank you guys. We love having a good turnout. Next week, Monday, we're going to go to and addressing how to know and work with MLS rules. March 17th, we're going to go over the condo offer and listing contract. March 24th is spring break, so we're not going to have any class. And then March 31st, we're going to have a lender guest speaker to be determined. Probably hit up Jake or Blake sometime this week to find out if either one of them can help us out. So that's all I got.
Sweet. Thanks, Steph. It's an important reminder, especially as we head into spring season with thawing and everything else, and where water starts to show up. Water is always the issue when it shows up in these transactions. All right. I'm going to quickly go through training and events, and then I'm going to go through the manifest. Okay. What I consider to be the manifest to your business. And as it relates to training and education, it's always a great reminder your business will grow to the extent that you do. You will grow to the extent of those whom you surround yourself with. And I'll share with you why that's important here in a second, because you aren't in this business to be average. You aren't in this business to be average, nor are we. So what is it that you need to do to not be average, right? March training calendar is out. A handful of really incredible things to point out. This week, Wednesday, is the luxury experience, the standards of luxury. That is via Zoom, led by Brady Sandall. Brady is incredible, phenomenal teacher leading the luxury community. Also, a couple things also to point out is we have some land and buying dirt that is coming up on Tuesday the 18th. Jay will be doing the price to sell, his CMA. something to point out, and you'll see here shortly, price changes are on the rise. And when price changes are on the rise, you know what else happens? Expiration of listing contracts is on the rise. So it's making sure we're getting our pricing right. Jay will be teaching his very ever popular CMA class on the 19th. And our ops mastermind will be held on Wednesday, the 26th at noon, along with a host of other items. I mentioned the KW Luxury Training Call, which is tomorrow at 10 a.m. via Zoom. Feel free to register. It's always led by Brady. Great class to help you understand the luxury community. And then Opportunity Knocks is coming up next week on the 10th from 3 to 5. You have an interest of joining a team, you have an interest of leading a team, or you want to run a team, or you are leading a team and you want to understand what the landscape is in terms of how people articulate their value to attract talent, because talent is the differentiator in terms of separation within this business. Join us for Opportunity Knocks on March 10th from 3 to 5 at the ZipForms Conference Center. Also, as it relates to talent and how do you identify, find, teach, coach, and train talent, leverage is always more work before it's less. Patrick Woods will be teaching the Leverage Series, Career Visioning and Success Through Others on March 26th and 27th up in Minneapolis if you have an interest. The reason why we threw this out there, even though it is in Minneapolis, is Patrick is an incredible speaker, a good friend of mine. And I think he does an exceptional job of identifying talent, finding talent, retaining talent. And it's all around the process you set up on the front side to set yourself up on the back side. With that, I'd also be remiss to point out that coming up on April 19th, there is a fundraiser that we will be supporting for Cindy Kuss. Cindy, for those of you who don't know, was the original compliance broker in the Southwest office, and for the last several years has been battling ALS. As a KW community, we've done a lot to support her through golf outings, through dinners, helping her get set up in Texas through stem cell treatments and a variety of other things. And to Cindy and Brian's credit, her husband, they've continued to push the envelope of what's possible in terms of her treatment. And there is an event that is coming up on April 19th to continue to support them and their family. And so because she was so good to us for so long, being a compliance broker, for those that would like to participate, I'll be there April 19th at 5 o'clock to support Cindy and Brian. All right. Now I'm jumping into day 2 of the vision speech. And you'll see lots of notes because what I'm trying to do is to tell you and share with you exactly what you should be paying attention to as to how to structure your business, how to build your business, and how to scale your business. There are lots of incredible reminders within this content. All of this content, including my notes, will be uploaded to our website here shortly. It's already probably up there within the Google Drive. But a couple general commentary as reminders that I gave you last week. 1, our job is to bring perspective and knowledge to our clients. If you don't have perspective, nor can you articulate your knowledge, what do you have to offer? 2, we have to be the voice of reason and truth for our communities. I share that with you because I've seen a lot of information on the interwebs, the media, and so on and so forth. Our industry, don't get it twisted, is very soft in many parts of the country. That isn't the case in our part of the country. I'll go into our local level detail of data next week for January and February to help you understand where we are versus prior years. But you have to be the voice of reason and truth because people are either getting the narrative from you or they're getting it somewhere else. And you need to make sure that the narrative that you are helping articulate and educating your clients to is the truth behind what's happening within their communities, right? It takes an expert to tell people how to move in this market. And you must do the activities that cause that to happen. Otherwise, your business will look like the market. And this goes into a lot of things I've talked about as it relates to absolute versus relative performance over the last several weeks. So let's jump in. Here's a handful of things that I'll be discussing this morning. And let's jump into sides per agent, okay? Couple things to point out. Historical averages within our industry is 9.5 sides per agent on an annualized basis, okay? When you look at it, last year it was 5.4 sides per agent was the industry average. Ironically, in southeastern Wisconsin, the average within the GMAR was 5.5 units per salesperson in the GMAR. Interestingly to note, which I will share with you in a second, KW Milwaukee's average was 12.7. We basically doubled the industry average in southeastern Wisconsin as it relates to sides per agent. Culture of productivity matters. Who you surround yourself with matters. The network you involve yourself with matters. I'll share that more in a second. So a couple of notes as it relates to sides per agent. It's an equal opportunity game. Again, last year there were 40,000 transactional units closed, yet it's an unequal reward game. A ton of agents had their best year ever last year. And mind you, it was the slowest 24 months consecutively in the last 30 years. And yet many had their best year ever. And as I mentioned last week, only 56,000 agents left the business. So the rate of attrition wasn't nearly as high as we were expecting because volume per agent remained very healthy when you consider the rate of appreciation we've seen since 2019. So per agent volume metrics, again, the volume per agent, last year was 2.93 million. Southeastern Wisconsin at KW, we were 5.7, 5.5 or 5.7. Okay, nearly 2x that. So what happens is when per agent volume metrics are healthy, you don't see the attrition because so many people are making a decent amount of income on a per unit basis. So the reason why we continue to challenge you as you focus on your relationships and focus on your units is the more units you control, the more income you can make. You can't rest your laurels on your price points. Don't rest your laurels on price points. It's a risky game because the higher price points, the less amount of transactional units there are. And if you miss 1 or 2 transactional units in those high price points, it can significantly impact your year, which again, I go back to challenging you on how do you focus on your units. So this is a quick sidebar. This is 2024 data from January 1 through December 31st. Interestingly to note, KW Associates closed 12.6 closed units per agent that averaged 5.15 million. Okay. It was 112% higher on closed dollar volumes per agent than the GMAR average of an associate in southeastern Wisconsin. And they closed 80% more closed units per agent than the GMAR average in southeastern Wisconsin. You aren't in the business of being average. Okay. You aren't in the business of being average, and productivity matters. So jumping back into it, listings with price drops, a couple things to point out. Very, very interesting. First, January always sets the floor within an annualized year. So let's take a look back at the last 2 years. January of 23, 9% of listings, and you can see that was the floor. Everything else goes up as it relates to price drops. January of 24 was 24%. You can see that was the floor in 2024. The concerning thing, and again, remind you, this is national data. The concerning thing in January of 25 is 31% of all listings had a price drop in January. And historically, when January is the floor, we have to make sure that we're entering listing appointments with sharp pencils and being real around the perspective on the market of the moment and right-sizing client expectations. So provide perspective and market expertise. Knowledge and skills in this space are vital. Don't get caught chasing a number. And remember, January always sets the floor, and communicate with your clients constantly. Communicate with your clients constantly. New listings, same. January always sets the floor. So when you look at it, there were 301,000 listings in January of 23. It set the floor for 2023. January of 24, there was 325,000. It set the floor in 2024. New listings in January of 25 were 406,000. The positive news here is we need listing inventory to actually rise for more deal activity to be had. This is a positive metric within the space. New home starts as it relates to alleviating inventory concerns, as it relates to new construction. You can see the long-term average is right there. And in 2024, we basically came back to what the long-term averages was as we started to see the deflationary pressures that we had seen through 2020 to 2023. And so you're seeing new home starts. So these are things that are starting. And then what happens is it leads into what then sells. Long-term average, you can see there, last year in 2024, it was 683,000, just slightly above the historical averages. This is positive news as it relates to alleviating the inventory pressures that we've seen on a national basis. Student loan debt. Interesting, because it will lead to the next stat that I'll share with you that's that's a bit stark. The problem is it's not improving. We have to help people navigate their financial situations to help them understand affordability. We have to become true financial stewards of their situation and be their fiduciary. What does their holistic picture look like, and how do we help them navigate it? The reason why this is important, and I'm going to jump. Oh, we'll get there in a sec. The reason why this is important as it relates to first-time home buyers. Last year, first-time home buyers in the US was only 24% of transactions, which is significantly below the long-term average of 40%. And so how we are financial stewards and helping people understand how to navigate the affordability of their situations is how they will unlock the power of wealth building and generational wealth building that real estate provides people. Home insurance is going to continue to be a big theme, I think, in the next 5 to 10 years. We are going to have to understand how the cost of insurance is going to creep into affordability issues and concerns. For those of you who go to Florida, you're already starting to see it. It's killing them because the cost of insurance is so substantially high due to a lot of the natural disasters we've seen in the last 3 to 5 years. Insurance is going to continue to be an issue that we're going to have to learn how to navigate and provide solutions to our clients. When you look at it, the beautiful thing, and I've been talking about this a lot lately, this is home insurance non-renewals as of 2023. What do you notice about the upper Midwest around the Great Lakes? Very low incidence of non-renewal as it relates to insurance. So again, my hypothesis and theory is the Great Lakes region will continue to be a very attractive place for families to own real estate long-term because of low incidence of natural disaster and a high availability of fresh water. Okay. Generational wealth transfer. This is also very interesting as it relates to how you think about you being a financial steward for your clients and helping them unlock the opportunity within residential real estate. Boomers currently control 85 trillion in assets, which is almost 50% of all assets in the US. 19 trillion is in real estate. 73% of people over 55 say they want to give all or some of their assets to their children before they die. And on average, they want to give away 30% while they're still alive. So as you think about how am I helping people unlock the aspect of real estate, how am I helping people unlock the opportunity within building generational wealth? And how do I help people unlock the opportunity in accessing affordability of real estate and thinking about generational wealth transfer? There were 2 strategies that can be implemented that you can be thinking about, and we can talk a bit more about this in future. Is 2, a married couple loans their child $500,000 to purchase a home following the requirements laid out by the IRS. The couple then forgives the amount equivalent to the maximum annual gift tax per parent, $19,000 on the loan, for a total of $38,000. This process can be repeated until the home is fully paid off. If the child is married and the gift amount can be extended to their spouse, effectively doubling the annual loan. Okay, let me help you unpack that. Basically, what it's saying is a parent gifts a child $19,000 a year. They can do that tax-free. So what they do is they buy the home for $500,000. They create documents that creates a loan, and then every year they gift them and their spouse, and you can do this for children, up to $19,000 per individual within the household. And they can gift that money as a loan repayment until the loan is fully repaid, and the parents can do that tax-free. Strategy 2, a married couple buys their child a $500,000 home in cash and gifts it to them. They file the required gift tax report, falling under their lifetime gift and estate tax exclusion of $27.98 million per married couple. Again, this is not tax advice. You need to make sure that you are connecting with the appropriate CPAs, financial planners, and so on and so forth. But when you consider the amount of generational wealth transfer that will be happening in our our lifetime over the next 10 to 15 years, there is a lot of generational wealth transfer that will be happening. And it's how we help people navigate those situations is how they will unlock the affordability of real estate to build generational wealth. Planting a seed. Now I'm going to go into thinking about how you strategically set up your business and what you should be focusing on. Okay. Here's the home profile of buyers and sellers, and this is what buyers and sellers are helping you understand. Couple things. General themes as it relates to this. Real estate is a contact sport. There's never been a better year to be the economist of choice than today. I just saw it this morning on Twitter. I was looking through and someone was like, prices are down 31%. If your clients saw that in Wisconsin, they're going to be freaking out. That isn't the case. Be the economist of choice. There's more short-term noise than what we've seen in the last 4 years. So the dialogue becomes, let me tell you what it's really like. Talk to the local market in real time and know it with confidence. I always challenge you. The reason why I say the grocery store market of the moment script is to give you 2 or 3 things that you can effectively say in a short conversation to articulate your expertise as to what's going on. The power you get when you are done is you will convey knowledge that no one else in the market has, and they view you as the market expert. So the other thing I will challenge you with is consider this, and I shared this with the ALCs last week in a different context, but it's very relevant to the context we're going to talk about today. Last year, there were 171 million leads sold to agents in our industry. 171 million leads. There were only 4.1 million transactions. Okay? So from a transactional standpoint, it means every home was sold 43 times over. Or 76% of the US population over the 18 was sold as a lead in 2024, when only 2% of the population transacted real estate. And yet, when you consider that many transactions as a household consider more than one person, it makes lead conversion on these leads rounding errors of significance. Think about that for a second. Now I'm going to help you understand why that might be. First-time home buyers, again, 24%. Lowest it's been in, this data is showing 24 years. It probably is, and the average is 40%. Millennials are struggling to access housing. We need to provide the avenue to build wealth and provide them the education. The primary reason for purchasing a home, this is desiring to own a home. Last year was 22%. Desiring to be closer to family and friends has jumped substantially with the advent coming out of 2020. With the ability for people to work remotely and the increased accessibility to technology, people wanting to live closer to family and friends is becoming more and more part of the decision-making process. So as you think about looking at your databases, who has, and this is just a simple example, who has kids, adult children that are living in other cities that are either starting a family or have a family and are thinking about their options? Hint, hint, I was exactly one of those people. Started a family, what happened? I moved home. That is only going to continue to play a part, and you need to be thinking about how you're speaking and articulating to your database and segmenting your database as it relates to unlocking opportunity. First step in the buying process, and guys, I'm going to segment this data. First part is buying, second part is selling. I'll share the selling part in the second half. 73% of all searches start online or with an agent. That should be no shock. Looked online for properties for sale was the start, was 43%. Contacted a real estate agent was 21%. And looked online for information about the buying process, 9%. What's interesting is if you look since 2020, 18% of all buyers started with an agent versus last year it was 21%. The reason why I believe that starting with an agent is increasing is the complexity of the market. What buyers are effectively telling you is they value the knowledge and expertise you have and they're willing to pay you for navigating a complex transaction. Where the buyers found the home they purchased, 88% of buyers found their home online or through their agent. It's not like it's a secret. Okay. Value of website features. I see more agents waste their time on websites than anything. You have to have an online presence and making sure that you have the right features as it relates to what is on your website. People are looking for information on how to track their local market. They're coming to you seeking information as it relates to their asset. Provide useful information online. That was kind of the foreshadow of what I gave as it relates to the information that Lindsay prepared as leverage for you. You can see here, detailed property information, property photos, floor plans, details about recently sold properties, neighborhood info, real estate agent contact, virtual tours, pending sales. What's a waste? Interactive maps, videos to an extent, info about upcoming open houses, virtual listing appointments. People want information and data. Okay. Method of the home purchase as it relates on the buy side. Last year, 88% of all transactions in the US utilize a real estate agent. People are willing to pay for your value in a world of complexity. They are literally telling us that as 88% of all transactions utilize an agent in 2024. What buyers want from their agent? One, they want you to educate them. Two, they want you to slow down enough for them to fully appreciate what you can do for them. And three, you have to help them understand your service approach. And I would argue four, they want to be communicated with constantly. Constantly. How buyers found their agent? 78% of the time, buyers found their agent via referral or sphere of influence. 17% was previously utilized. 14% was website or online. 78% of the time was referral, previously utilized, or your online presence. 78% of the time. And there were 171 million leads sold last year. People who avoid contact make less money. Contact creates friction. Friction is healthy. It's a way to think about it. Make peace with it and make contact. Buyer interviews. Here's a fascinating stat, and this is something you should be thinking about. 91% of the time, buyers only interviewed 2 agents, and 75% of the time, buyers only interviewed 1 agent. If you are not first, you're potentially irrelevant. People don't have time or capacity to interview more than 1. They are literally telling us that by 75% of the time they interview 1, 91% of the time they've interviewed 2 people. You have to be first. It is a contact sport. Intensity and frequency matters, and articulating and how you educate them is what they're seeking you to do. Most important factors, experience is made of professionalism and knowledge, not numbers on page. How do you articulate your professionalism and knowledge as it relates to your experience, honest, trustworthy, reputation, friend, or family member? Again, I've used this example all the time. The reason why I like using new agents as disruptor examples is new agents have cracked the code on how to communicate with people. And when they communicate effectively, they win the business because they've disrupted a status quo of where the business normally would have gone. We are in a game of articulating and communicating. Home as a financial investment. 80% of people still believe real estate is a good financial investment. And the homeowner net worth is 35x that of a renter. 35x. Buyers and repeat and referrals. You have to understand this. In 2024, the likelihood of definitely or probably of using your services again was 88%. So what buyers are saying is those that service them, they would definitely or probably use them again. If real estate agents just stayed in contact, they would have better odds than Vegas. The challenge of it is the time horizon between transaction 1 and transaction 2 is effectively 7 to 10 years. And so it's the ability for you to remain in a relationship constantly and consistently over that time horizon is how you win the business a second time. Now I'm going to start switching over to sellers. And I'll finish it with this. Buyer satisfaction of your services last year was 92%, despite the noise of everything that was going on with the antitrust case. 92%. And 88% of the time they said they would probably or definitely use you again. Sellers had a 90% satisfaction rating. So what do we need to think about from sellers? 70% of sellers found their listing agent because they were referred to by a friend or neighbor, they used the agent previously, or they were personally contacted by the agent. 171 million leads were sold last year, and yet 70% of all listings found their agent because of referral, previously used, or a personal contact by the agent. We are in a game of repeat, referral, and contacted by the agent and thinking about our communication platforms. Seller interviews, similarly to the buyer side, 84% of the time sellers interviewed 2 agents. 81% of the time they only interviewed 1 agent. So think about it like this. Buyers said 75% of the time they only interviewed 1 agent. Sellers, 81% of the time they only interviewed 1 agent. Why? It's a pain in the ass to invite you over to their home on a Tuesday night or whatever, clean the place to make it presentable, make sure the kids don't have the dirty laundry or drawers all over the place, and then for them to think about how they want to sell it. If you are in the door and you don't leave with a listing contract signed, you need to be thinking about what it is that you didn't do to get it signed, because 81% of the time they're only interviewing 1 person. You have to ask for the sale in the appointment. And if you don't, take stock in what it is that you could have done differently as it relates to how you communicated with those you were in front of, right? Feedback loops and cycles are important within this business. What sellers want, these 4 areas cover 88% of sellers' desires: competitive pricing, marketing that attracts attention and drives the timeline, and fixes to maximum value. This is important. Number 1 mistake that agents don't do: understanding how it attracts attention and drives to the client's timeline. If you don't understand their timeline, you have a higher likelihood of getting an expired listing. You have to understand their sense of urgency. Sellers and repeats referrals, very similarly, in 2024, 87% said they definitely or probably would use their listing agent again. 87%. And the method to use to sell a home last year, 90% of the time, all listings utilized an agent. Despite the noise that we experienced in the last 12 months, as it relates to our industry, your service, your value, and what you charge, 90% of all listings last year went through a professional. People are literally telling you they believe in your service, they are willing to pay you for your value. How you communicate that and how you articulate it and provide perspective is how you will ultimately win the business, because let's just call it for what it is. 80% of the time, you only get 1 shot. If you didn't get the first shot, the likelihood of you getting the listing, you are basically irrelevant. And if you missed your first shot, the likelihood of you getting the signed listing contract goes down substantially. So use feedback loops as a gift. Think about how you're articulating and communicating your value with your clients. And what I would do if I were in your shoes is I would be printing this deck, and everything I would be doing would be thinking about the data as what consumers are telling us and how we are operating our businesses in order to continue to build scale for us to achieve the success we desire. Make sense? Love it. Next week, I will come and disrupt all the noise you're hearing about the market and tell you exactly what's going on in southeastern Wisconsin so that you can be the economist of choice. I will give you a grocery store market of the moment script so that you have a few nuggets when you're picking up the gallon of milk, when you're walking into the grocery store and someone says, what's going on in the market? I will help you identify what that looks like. Sound good? Awesome. Hopefully you found it valuable this morning. A lot of this made me critically think, and a lot of it is what we will continue to do to drive value to you in terms of training, education, and resources so that you can continue to be disruptors within the industry, because you aren't here to be average. And we are here to ensure that you have that ability to be successful. Guys, it's a beautiful day in Milwaukee. Thanks for showing up.